Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Learning by Doing on Data Talks. So this is where you get to watch a real data scientist go through some Pandas exercises together. This has helped my students before, just seeing as another approach to these things, and sometimes it just helps kind of seeing the thought process of someone going through these exercises. So here we go. So we are doing, again, Gwipsamora's library of Pandas exercises. We're doing an applied US crime rates one. So US crime rates 1960 to 40. So let's go ahead and get started. So as always, we import pandas as PD. This is just sort of like, it should almost be, already in here. And then we'll go ahead and grab the data from this address. So again, really simple. It's comma separated. It's from a URL. As we know, we can go ahead and read from the URL using pandas read CSV. So pd.read CSV. We'll actually even read from URLs. So data frame. We'll assign it to a variable called crime. Crime equals data frame. And then we will check out crime.head. Cool. Oh my God. Yeah, man, this is terrible stuff. Are these real numbers? Wow. So many terrible things happen in 1 year. Okay, what is the type of the columns? So the easiest way to see type of the columns is .info. .info, you should almost always do this for all of your guys. And every single column is an integer. Yes. Okay. So convert the column year to DateTime 64. Okay. So pd.toDateTime is one of the pretty cool ones. And you can see this guy is a meaty function. So days first, years first, box, format. So, I might need to go ahead and Google for the format, so we will see. But let's check out what this looks like as of now. So it wants us to convert the year to a date time. Convert the year to a date time. Okay. So we can take the year. Okay, great. So we just take crime.year, and we want to make this into a date time. I actually want to see this visibly. Okay, 1970. Okay. That looks... No, it does not. So notice here, it went ahead and did this. So it just made this into like microseconds. Okay. So let's go year first. This might just be able to do it for us. Year first equals true. Okay. No, that did not. Okay, so otherwise we will just need to, infer DateTime format. Let's just do that. No, still didn't work. Okay. Right. So we're probably gonna need to do the, we're actually gonna need to do the format. String parse. So this, okay. So this, ultimately, there was some format, I think, written in like C++ or something that literally all of these DateTime libraries inherit from. So hopefully this will do it. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't really know what to say other than, I don't know it off the top of my head. I know a little bit of it. Just Google it. If you Google pd.to, I would have already Googled it, but I'm just sort of working on this notebook right now, so I want to seem smarter and cooler than I am. So if you just Google pd.toDateTime formats, you'll be able to find this pretty easily. Okay, great. So we want to go ahead and make this a new. So I'm going to call this DateTime year. Great. It's kind of a little bit of a funky way to write it in Python, but hey, that's what you get. Great. Set the year as the index of the data frame. Great. So dot set index, and we can just specify the year. This is exactly kind of what you want to do. Perfect. Oh, and then always you can just do this in place. True. Great. So that sets the column for the year. Delete the total column. Again, this is pretty simple with pandas. You can just do this. I just think this is crazy. Just how simple this is. They make it so Pythonic is kind of the way they put this. Group the year by decades and sum the value. Okay. Pay attention to the population column number. Summing this column is a mistake. Okay, great. So first we need to go ahead and group by, okay, this is good. We don't have too many left, because otherwise this is going to be a long time. So group by decades. So let's go ahead and get the index dot date time. Let's see, date dot let's find, is there a decade? Let's check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab this, which is a date time thing. I am not a big date time person, and I want to figure out whether I can get a decade from this. So there's all this stuff here. DT is really what I want. Dot, day of the week, day of the year, leap year, minute, normalized, second, to period, week, year, date, ceiling, day, noon. I don't, well, year, right? And then we can just do a mod 10, I guess. Is that right? So just so divide by 10 gives us the decade. Yeah, okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll use this for the decade. A little bit funky, but that's what you're going to do. So let's go ahead and make a decade column. So on our crime data frame, let's go ahead and take the year, divide it by 10, and this will be crime, right? I guess it's all decade. Okay, great. We need an equals. So we've got our decade column. Now we can group the year by decades. Okay, so we've got crime. Let's look at this. We've got, right, the population is not what you want to do here. We want the max for the population. And then, okay, so let's get the columns. Violent property, murder. Okay, all of these should be, except for the decade, should be, so let's go ahead and do a dot lock. So I want to grab all these columns. So from violent, doesn't really even matter. So from violent to vehicle theft. Okay, we are looking to get the columns here. We want to go from, let's go all the way from population to vehicle theft, dot columns, and these will be our columns of interest. Lock, population theft. Sure. And then, okay, so columns of interest. Let's go ahead and get, let's make a dictionary. C goes to, this will be for an ag in a group by. Sum the values. Sum for C and CS, except for we need to be very careful with population. So this will be our ag, and we'll just get ag population, right, equals, and then for the population we can just go ahead and say the max last is probably what we want. Okay, great. Now we can go ahead and do the group by. Now that we've gone ahead and done this. This, I will say, this is a little bit messy. This is getting the important columns. Probably we'd want to go ahead and list out what the important columns are if we were actually doing this for a real data science thing, because this is a little bit opaque. I have no idea what's going on here. Great. So now we can go ahead and do crime dot group by. and we're going to group by the decade. And then we want to do ag, and we will ag using the ag. Great. Great, so this is going to be, all of these are sums of crimes over the decade, except for population, which is going to be the last population. Pretty cool. Okay, last question. What is the most dangerous decade to live in the US? I love these types of questions. Oh, interesting. Well, certainly not the most recent one, but this is summed over not all the years. So we don't really have these stats. What we also need here is we need population size. Let's go ag. I want to include a year column to just get the number of years. And so this will be size. Okay. So, right, this last decade had 5 years. And so, violent crimes. Let's look at the average number of violent crimes per decade and see how it compares. And again, this most recent decade isn't fully in yet. So, if we go by this, this will be group by. If we do group by, we can check this out again. Let's get the violent divided by group by year. The 90s seem to have the most violent crime per year, but again, we want to normalize for population as well, at least. Let's go ahead and divide this also by a group by population. Okay. Still looks like the 90s seem to be the most, the worst time for violent crime. Okay, we could do .lock. We could go from violent to vehicle theft. And we could check this out. Right. Violent to vehicle theft. This is all nans. Interesting. Violent vehicle theft. Then we can't go ahead and divide by group by population. This gives us nans. Why? Right. These decades. Right, we want to go ahead and just divide the entire thing by population. So let's just do divided by the population, group by population. Still nans. Let's just make sure this is returning the correct thing. That it is. As type. Yeah, I wonder why this is giving nans here. So what I want to look at is also, group by. Oh, right. I see. Right, so what's happening here is that perhaps I can't do data frames divided by series? No. So we kind of noticed that if I went back here, I also got all these things, which was sort of suggesting that there was something wrong. divided by this. Still gives me nothing here. If I do multiply, what does it also? If I do plus, it's going to also do that. Interesting. Right. Interesting. So I can add population by dot info. They're all int 64s. I kind of don't want to do just some funky for loop here. I'm kind of wondering why it won't let me do that. Okay, divide data frame by column. By multiple columns by another column. Dot div. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Okay, well, so there we go. So we can go ahead and do dot lock, like we had sort of wanted to do in the first place. Violent to vehicle theft. Violent to vehicle theft dot div, and then we do group by dot year times population, group by dot population, axis equals 0. Ugh. Oh, it still did the exact same thing. Let's just try to go one simpler. Oh. Okay, let's read this. Let's throw this out. Dot div. Following division of a data frame and another. Oh, the other scalar sequence. Ah, boy. Dot as type float. Sure. Let's just make sure it's not some floating point nonsense. Group by dot group by divided by group by dot population. Still nans. Yeah, and the entire thing, it's all just right. I guess div right. Okay, so rows. Okay, boy. So it looks like I've been dividing the series based on the rows or something like that the entire time. I'm super sorry that this took so long, but there you have it. We've got it. We've got it done now, almost. So let's go ahead and do some lock stuff. So I hope you guys see it was dividing along the column axis instead of the row axis, which got it confused with the indices for a very long time. So, yeah, enjoy data science is all I have to say. Let's go ahead just grab the violent stuff all the way to the vehicle theft stuff. We have the decade as that. Okay, great. So violence, vehicle theft, and then I will group by population times the years. So number of years. Okay, great. So I'll call this trends equals. Great. So let's go ahead and do trends.plot. Okay. Yeah, so we'll notice like a couple of things here. Definitely the 90s. Well, it looks like the 80s now definitely seems to be the biggest one in terms of, well, so we look at all these different things here. Like 80s had less of violent crime, but it had more property crime, had more larceny theft. Even before that, the 70s also had quite a lot of just burglary. But then violent crime has been just dropping ever since the 90s, it looks like. So even sort of on a population scale, and this is using the max population versus a population and then sort of number of years in the decade scaled. So, okay, well, that was awesome. So I hope you guys sort of enjoyed this. This was real stuff, as you saw. Let's jump over to the solutions and see what they did. Hopefully it was much easier than what happened here. Okay. U.S. crime rates exercises with solutions. I hope you guys, ooh, 20 minutes. Okay. So let's go here. Read CSV, look at the head, info, totally cool. Uses this format year, excellent, did that great. Set the index year, perfect. Drop equals true, so they dropped the year from the data set as well. Deleted the total. Grab head, perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, so so what they did in order to go ahead and group by the decades is instead of doing a group by, they went ahead and they resampled each decade, and they made sure to resample the population as the max. And so they got this as well. Honestly, this is super clear. This is better than what I did, to be frank, which is not always the case, but this is very, very nice. This is Austin. It's because I'm not sort of a super, I don't do time series all the time, and I also forgot about this resample thing, so this is great. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, what is the most dangerous decade to live? So, right, crime, ID max 0. So, yeah, 1990s, yeah, it's the most, but you in this case, I'd prefer to go ahead and do the population weighted as well. So if you look in terms of, and this is really nice, you can sort of see this. In the 80s, there was actually more property crime per capita. But in the 90s, there was just more overall, just because the population grew. Okay, well, so anyways, I hope you've enjoyed that. You can sort of get to see, what sort of the way I debug a problem. As I sort of went back and forth, I actually went over to the internet. I kind of did some Googling around. Hopefully that helps you a lot in sort of the way that you debug it. And hopefully it helps you a lot in sort of your data science journey. If you liked the video and want to go ahead and give me a little bit of sass for not knowing what I was doing with this sort of div by rows versus columns, please go ahead and give it to me. I always love it. And otherwise, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next.